Well, hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We are playing Reaching for the Stars, and I'm your host, Christopher Tarantola. We are with Biome Scan Sat 01, and let's see, we got Sarnas here, we got Erlem there. There's the moon, and that's our target. So we've scanned 97% of Kerbin for the biome data. We are missing some good chunks. But the way the satellite is set up, it's going behind the planet and losing battery as it goes north. And by the time it gets to about right there, the battery is out, and so you stop scanning. So we could either just sit here and wait for this to go around and around forever, in which case we would get the rest of this data eventually, likely. But I'm going to call that good enough for what I need for this series. And so I'm going to go ahead and send this thing to the moon. So we have set the moon as the target. We've already done that. And we have to think about this, right? Because we are in a polar orbit. It's not as easy as when you're in equatorial orbit. You just wait till you see it and then fly to it, right? Now, I'm going to turn the volume down here so I can hear myself talk. Yeah, so we gotta think about this. We want to leave at the descending node so that when we're pushing our apoapsis, it's pushing it at a point where it's going to cross the moon's path. And we want to push it at such a time where it will actually intersect with the moon. Now, this looks like it might be a good time. I don't know. So we're just going to click this here, take away the satellite map, click descending node. And if you don't have this precise node mod, then you just get it as close to that descending node as you can. And look, we're going to be going under, and that's okay. That's fine. That's no worries there. Okay, and so we're just going to burn prograde and see how it works out. How will this work out? See if we can get a capture. And there we go. We get a capture. Lucky for us. It won't always happen that way, and you either need to wait until the orbits are copacetic, such that when you do burn like this, you will get a burn, or you have to do some extra maneuvers to maybe, instead of being in a polar orbit, maybe you make it an equatorial orbit or closer to equatorial orbit than you have, and then burn. That will require a lot more delta V. And so we're not coming in exactly under the moon, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. We can try and change the normal and anti-normal, see how that will affect things, and that'll put us right where we want it, right? So that looks beautiful. And all we want is to get a polar orbit for the moon so that we can map the moon. And it looks like we have pretty close to it. I wonder if I add to it a bit. There. And we could probably do this a little bit too, and I don't know how effective that would be. I don't think that's going to be very effective. So we're not going to do that. So again, if you notice, 658 plus 298 does not equal 723. When you do multiple maneuvering in multiple directions at once, it's more efficient than doing one and then the other. And so that's why you want to try and do as many directions of movement in one maneuver as possible to stay as efficient as possible. You're just going to use less delta V doing it that way, and most usually less time. So that's a great capture. Honestly, that's just lucky. I did not plan that. It's making me look better than I am, quite frankly, guys. So don't think I'm just like the badass from hell that this is making me look. I just got lucky. And, I'll take that. I'll take it all day long. Okay, so we're going to change or correct our attitude to point towards our maneuver node. We have 40 minutes, so we're going almost all the way around. I'm going to focus back on vessel, actually, just so that I can see. We're not going all the way around. We just have a larger orbit. If we were at an 80 kilometer orbit, that would be like most of the way around. But actually, I think at that point it's only a 20 minute period. But our period's obviously a lot larger at this point. So we're gonna fast forward, not too fast, and slow her down, slow her down, slow her down, and slow her down again. Okay, and we're gonna make sure our alignment is as perfect as we can. And we got 12 seconds to our burn. I'm gonna go back to focusing on the moon so that I can make sure my actual orbit matches my projected orbit in the purple. Okay, so we got about 4 seconds. 2, 1, 0, burn. Okay, now I'm gonna have to stage here pretty quick here. So I'm gonna go to this view and we stage. Beautiful. Correcting my attitude a little bit. Hit back to the map view so I can see when this intersects this sphere of influence of the moon. We can make sure that, again, it matches our projected here in the purple as much as possible. Got about 12 seconds left. And see, because we're burning here, our apoapsis is pushing out right at the orbit of the moon, instead of like up this way or down that way if we had burned in a different part of our orbit. Okay, and we have got our capture, but our maneuver node is moving on us pretty quick, so I'm going to stop it and just press shift. So I pressed X to stop it, and now I'm pressing shift now to just be able to chase my maneuver node. You can see we have a capture here, and we're going to wait till that capture starts to match the purple. We got about 8 meters per second left of burn. You can see that we're going through the burn much slower at this point. Our maneuver node is moving on us, so I'm chasing that. And boom. That's going to be so close that it doesn't matter if I'm not perfect. All right, so again, this is not about perfection. Even in real life, like the Juno orbiter and other orbiters like the Cassini, whatever they send to anywhere, it's never going to be exact. You're always going to have to make correction burns and, do what you have to do to try and walk it in. Like even the automated ships that go up to ISS, at some point once they get into visual range, they will make corrections to be able to bring it into dock. All right, so now we have a great capture, and it's in a polar. It'll be a polar orbit once we burn at the periapsis. So it looks like 5 hours to the sphere of influence of the moon. I'm going to try and eyeball it. Now, I don't hit periapsis here, you notice, because I'm in a different sphere of influence. And so if I hit that, it's going to, I don't know exactly how it works, but it doesn't work correctly. Let's just put it that way. And the way I'm pretty sure it happens is it will put it at the periapse of its current orbit. And since there is no periapse because it's already past where the periapse would be if it continued on, it just screws the whole math up, and it'll put it somewhere, but it won't put it where you want it, bottom line. So you just eyeball it as close as you can, as if you never had the precise node, and you just burn retrograde. And for this particular maneuver, it doesn't matter if you're perfectly at the periapse. The more perfect, the better to get it perfectly at that orbit. But no big deal. And if you're a perfectionist, you can always walk it in like this, right? And I don't know what my orbit should be, so I'm thinking it should be, I don't know, 499. What's its current altitude? Current altitude is 4. I think I had it at 400. So it's got to be less for the moon. So I'm going to put it at 300. 278, a little bit too low. Okay, I just passed it. I'm looking here now at my periapsis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam. A little bit more, a little bit more. There we go. 299. I'm going to go just under 300 kilometers. And if that doesn't work, we can always push it up or push it down, depending on what we find when we get here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, since I just made my maneuver, I'm going to correct my attitude first. That way I don't have to worry about it once I get there. I'm going to F5 to lock in this maneuver. And I got a day and 41 minutes. So we're going to time warp. All right, and while we're time warping, just the other day, I was actually driving. I'm not in my home office. If I don't know how different the audio is, but there's probably quite a bit more echo because I'm in my father's house. And just the other day, just yesterday, when I was driving down here, the SpaceX had a big accident. An anomaly occurred in the second stage oxygen tank, and it had a big bada boom. Big bada boom, yeah. And it's kind of unfortunate. But you know, if I know SpaceX in their past, and Elon Musk in particular, I have faith that they will figure out whatever went wrong and fix it, and they'll come back bigger and better for it. It's a classic example of learning through iteration and repetition and perseverance. And even in non-scientific, non-space things, I can tell you from my personal experiences in life that, you know, if you have the space in your life to fail and you're able to learn from those experiences and push through and keep pushing, um, that's how you become successful. And so if when you take a risk, you can't afford to fail. The risk is too great, and you need to rethink that. And in this case, you know, they have insurance on the vehicle and on the cargo, and it was not a launch insurance. It was, I believe, a maritime insurance, but don't quote me on that. But all the same, it was insurance, and so, you know, the launch pad is going to be unusable for quite a while they investigate. It's going to affect their scheduling. They're probably going to ground things until they figure out what happened, so that they can, if it's a systemic issue, they can fix it. But at the same time, and we have reached the sphere of influence. I am watching this as I'm talking to you, but at the same time, you know, they will, once they figure this issue out, if it was a systemic issue, it's good to know about that and fix it now, and rather than like when people are on the second stage. One note, if you haven't seen, I'm sure you have, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, if they had to use the emergency escape system that the Dragon 2 utilizes, based on the tests of the Dragon 2's launch escape system, the people would very likely have been safe, as the ship would have gone away much quicker than that explosion expanded, and therefore, um, while they would have lost the first and second stages of the rocket and the pad itself, they would not have lost the crew, thankfully. So that's actually a good thing to know, and that's probably not an accident. Okay, we're coming up on 9 minutes under time warp. So I'm going to start paying attention to this. Okay, we're down to 4. And when I say 4, it's really 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes, but you know what I mean. So we're down to 1 minute. I killed my time warp. I'm going to speed it back up a little bit, not too much. And we're down to 30 seconds. 10. Kill my time warp altogether. Get my fingers ready on my keyboard. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. So now we're burning to do our capture. This orange here is where our orbit would be. If we look back around Kerbal, so we don't really need to pay attention to that. This blue one is what we're paying attention It's just a matter of, and we didn't match exactly. No big deal, as long as our periapsis is just under 300, and it's not, so I'm going to just burn ever so slightly. And now it is. And so I'm going to F5, and then I'm going to make a maneuver at the periapse. And at that maneuver, I'm going to pull back until we circularize our burn. Okay, and that was a little too much. 90, 91, 92, looking right here. 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. And then it jumped up to here, so a little bit too much that way. Perfect. Okay, at least close enough to perfect for what we need. Now I'll correct my attitude. And it's much easier now that I've lost that one stage. And F5 it one more time since I've corrected the attitude. And I'm going to actually go back to my, what is this called, staging mode. And we are too high, which is fine. Because right now we are at 724 kilometers. And we're going to be going down to just under 300. And that'll be, I think, about the right height. If not, we can always move it, but we'll see. So 2 hours of game time. Let's time warp that. And we're just going to watch as the Kerbin gets eclipsed by the ship from our viewpoint, which is quite beautiful. We got Minimus there in the background, which is awesome. Up and not paying attention. I've totally passed my... Yeah, I totally passed it. Okay, so we're just going to function F9. Okay, so I F9 this, reloaded to my last load point because I just totally blew past my maneuver. I wasn't paying close enough attention because I was doing it in launch mode or staging mode rather than the map view. And so we'll try it again. I'll stay in map view this time, just so that I'm clear that I don't pass it. Alright, slow down just in time. It's not going to be the biggest burn, about 2 seconds. 2, 1, 0. Oops. I'm trying to chase my node here. It's like I don't have SAS at all. That's what it feels like. I'm having to just really hit my keys all over the place. But in the end, wonder, do I not have battery? Like, what happened to my SAS? Why don't I have SAS? Wonder if it's a bug. Yeah, I mean, I have this reaction wheel. It oughta stop it. Like, I don't know what's up with that. That might be a glitch. I'm gonna go ahead and run my sound experiment. Yeah, and we get some good signs there. I'll send that off. Let's see what else. Ideal altitude. Let's take a look at our handy dandy map. We have all the terrain already, but we want to see what the biome is. I don't know what that plus and minus sign is that I... Looks like it just adds this down here. Yeah, and so we can see we are scanning currently. And I'm gonna F5 and time warp just to stop the rotation. Yeah, I mean, it was just free rotating as if I never had. So there's must be a glitch going on here. Not the biggest glitch in the world, but I might reload this if I was going to do anything more. But honestly, I'm just waiting for this to go around. If we notice, we have Kerbin to Moho window coming up pretty quick here. Now, I believe I've built the Moho Ron, a 02, several episodes ago. And so when that window comes up, we will be launching that vessel and then sending it off to Moho. Moho is a little bit more difficult than the other planets to get to, and I will talk about that at that point. But let's just, for the rest of this video, fast forward and watch as our map gets filled. I thank you guys for watching as always. I'm actually very pleased to see my YouTube page is starting to get a lot more views and subscribers, and I'm quite humbled by the amount of support that I'm getting from you guys. So I really appreciate that, and I do appreciate you watching. I thank you. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.